And everybody, here it is, live from DKR. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton of On Texas Football. We're doing a little pregame game day, as you can see. I don't know if you can actually see all of it in the background, but
Vivo Boulevard.
Vivo Boulevard's being constructed before our very eyes right now. Jerry Hamilton here, Texas 3-0, ranked number 1 in the country, taking on the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. That was one of those names that just came up in the last 10, 15 years, nicknames. Guys, I tell you what, the Longhorns in a situation where, and I remarked on this morning's Saturday conversation, I think it's safe to say that this may be the most anticipated debut of a Longhorn starting quarterback in how long a period of time? Ever? Those are the kind of thought process I have now.
Yeah, because of where we're at with national media and social media, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think back whether it was Vince Young or Chris Sims in my era of following the Longhorns, it's probably the biggest one yet out of everybody. And here we go, the right-hander from New Orleans, Louisiana, the scion of the first family of football, and the Mannings, Arch Manning, be the starter later today. Jerry, he has played really well when he's gotten in the game. He accounted for 5 touchdowns last weekend. I expect nothing less going into today from him, although I do think ULM will have had more time to prepare for him and get ready for him, and probably throw some curveballs at him that they weren't going to throw at a more experienced Quinn Ewers.
Well, and ULM also had a week off, so they were preparing for 2 weeks for this game, if they put in all the prep for this game, which but yeah, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Texas Longhorns, which means they have fresh legs. Look, they're a better defensive team than UTSA. They have better pass rushers than UTSA had last week. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Texas offensive line has a pretty big job here today when you consider they're now blocking for a first-time starting quarterback. That's different than blocking for a third-year starting quarterback. I don't care who you're playing. So, again, Jake Majors, the communication, setting everything, the protections is going to be really big today, giving Arch the time he needs. And I'm so interested to see, one, how ULM plays Texas in the secondary, because everybody's respected the speed of the Longhorns this year so much that Quinn's strength in the intermediate game, Sark could scheme right into it the entire game. Will ULM take a little more risks, bring a little more pressure to try to get to a first-time starting quarterback to see if they can force an early turnover or 2 in this game? Will they take more risks than what we've seen from a Colorado State and a UTSA this year? It's going to be fascinating to watch, but I can tell you, walking around, I talked to some people that are already tailgating. There's definitely a level of excitement. 1, because Texas is number 1 in the country.
Yep.
2, because Arch Manning is the quarterback. And 3, we're a week away from the first SEC game.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yep.
And this is the prep for it actually right now. The Longhorns getting ready to take on the Warhawks later today. We got a lot of people here. Welcome. How you guys doing, man? Everybody getting ready. Bevo Boulevard gets started. I think the festivities start at noon. We've got a bunch of different stuff going on here down at our tailgate. We've got, Flat Creek Estate Winery's got a wine garden down the road here. Feel free to stop by for a frosé. I think they open at noon today. At our tent, we've got a $200 duck camp giveaway. Thank you to them. Billy Hargrove and the folks at Hargrove Roofing, the Stark family at South Point Dodge, they're all going to be by visiting with us today. So we appreciate them, as well as John Donovan. Adam Lowy's going to be down here with his kids. So it's going to be a little bit of a family atmosphere. So please feel free to come and join us. Brandon Huey's going to be down there again. I love Brandon's little kiddo.
Brandon, the hamstrings, are they stretched? What have we got going today, Brandon?
Hey, let's take a look at the stats leaders real quick, Jerry, for University of Louisiana Monroe, if you don't mind. The name General Booty, we can say what we want about that. He's the son of Abram Booty, of the Josh Booty's brother, played wide receiver at LSU. General Booty is the son. 19 of 30 on the year, has not thrown much. We were talking about this yesterday on the live stream. He's only attempted 3 passes beyond 10 yards. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that they have convincingly won both of their games and haven't really been tested. But look at their running game. Go down to that if you don't mind, Matt, our producer in the behind the scenes. Their running game is pretty interesting. Jerry, they have their three leading running backs all have right at 5+ yards a carry. Yeah. That's pretty strong and pretty stout considering how often they run. So they're going to try to lean on that run game against the Longhorns today. Those top three running backs rushing 70 different times and still yet having a 5+ yard average per carry. That is clearly it. They have a big play receiver, young man named Javon Campbell. Devon Wells leads the team in receptions, but it's really Javon Campbell that can score big. He's got 89 yards on the season. Look at Devon Wells. He's a move the sticks guy, 7 for 40 yards, 40+ yards.
This game defensively for Texas sets up about like the Michigan game did. And it's a much lesser opponent, don't get me wrong, but it's a team that wants to run the football. They've only thrown 31 passes in 2 games. I think they've run it 75 times. They've run it 89 times in 2 games versus 31 passes, right? So that is a team that wants to run the football on first down and second down and get the third and short.
They may want to run it on fourth.
Yeah. So first down run defense. If Texas stifles UL Monroe on first down defensively, they're going to have issues today. Obviously, Texas is a heavy favorite in this game. We know that, but the similarities are there. You know, Rod talked about it before the Michigan game. Michigan didn't have the guys to beat Texas over the top. They didn't have the guys to win those one-on-one matchups and make big plays down the field. Well, the same with UL Monroe, except lesser talent around those guys. So it's going to be an imperative for UL Monroe if they're going to cover this line, if they're going to eat up the time of possession and shorten this game to have some first down success running the football. Because if they don't, it gets a lot more difficult.
I got to say this also last night, guys. A group of folks went into the Longhorn Hall of Honor. Yeah. We mentioned this. 4 guys that we know well. Our 3 guys from the football side, Reggie Freeman from basketball, Omar Quintanilla from baseball, then several others. But these guys that went in from football, it's a pretty great list. Colt McCoy goes in for the Longhorns. Marquise Goodwin, the wide receiver track star, also goes in. And then also Alex Okafor, another just tremendous all-around player and representative of the University of Texas, Super Bowl winner as well with the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations and our hats off to all of the recipients from last night. Good stuff there. Jerry, I was watching Game Day a little bit earlier this morning. Nick Saban broke down the play of young Arch Manning. Yeah. It's when I talk about anticipated debuts, this is what I mean. Yeah. And you talk about national media, it's exactly what we're talking about. When's the last time a starter, first-time backup quarterback starter at the University of Texas was broken down by the national media prior to their first start? It didn't happen with Vince Young. It didn't happen with Chris Sims.
That's what I was talking about. We're so different now with the media coverage, social media, and everything around it right now. Here's the thing I would say, too, is that with Arch Manning is Nick kind of went over, I think, 3-4 plays, right? And the one play people keep going over is the third down where I don't know if it was his check or the center's check on the blitz, right? Because they overloaded the left, UTSA overloaded left side. Then they were going to bring corner nickel or corner nickel safety off the right side. And Nick talked about that's the thing with the young quarterbacks, is checking to that protection, seeing where that blitz is going to be coming from on those very, very valuable third downs. So that's the one play that everybody's harped on this week that's covered, Arch. It's going to be interesting to see this week how he does in his first career start, because I don't care, we've talked about, I don't care who you are, you're going to be nervous. You're going to be nervous in this setting. If you're not nervous, I would say you don't care, and he cares. He's going to be nervous, right? But from a coverage standpoint, I jokingly used to say when this recruitment was going on, it was $100 million recruitment for the winner. Yeah. And we're starting to see that play out.
Why? Yeah, the why behind that. Yeah. I would add this for those of you that had a chance to catch the Nebraska-Illinois game last night. You would also understand why in this situation getting after it. Hey, Coach, how you doing? Hey, come say hi real quick. Yeah, Coach Andy Kelly, how you doing? This is Andy Kelly, Texas women's soccer coach. Congratulations.
Welcome.
Have a good week, Coach.
Yeah, you guys too.
Take care. Look, good stuff there. What I was going to say is if you watched the Nebraska-Illinois game last night, Dylan Raiola, the freshman, true freshman from Nebraska, looked fantastic in the first half.
Yeah.
Threw a couple balls he probably shouldn't have thrown that were in harm's way. The second half, Illinois started lighting him up.
Yeah.
And they lit him up hard, especially in overtime. And, Nebraska kind of got stifled.
Yeah.
That's what you can do to a young quarterback. That is exactly why we're talking about what ULM will try to do potentially, and what Nick Saban was talking about trying to overwhelm the quarterback in this matchup.
If I'll say this, I'll take a step further. If UL Monroe doesn't do that, that's the ultimate respect ever for the Texas speed.
Yeah,
because that would
Texas,
mean that would mean okay. We don't, even though he's a freshman, we still can't bring the house at this guy very often. We have to respect him, play off coverage, play umbrella defense, because they play a 3-3-5, play umbrella defense, keep everything in front of us, and see if he'll make a mistake without blitzing him much. That would be the ultimate sign of respect for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, it would be, and I think that's respect and or knowing they don't want to necessarily give looks unless they don't want to start doing that unless they're actually in the game in the fourth quarter,
right?
And then or third quarter, and then start that process. It may be an admission of guilt a little bit on the Warhawks side.
Hey, by the way, we've added 2 key visitors for next weekend's Mississippi State game, because there's going to be some guys in town this weekend. We've mentioned Jalen Lott, 2026 4-star, son of James Lott. Jonah WIlliams scheduled to be in. I think Jackson Christian, offensive line commit. Khalid Lockett, a few guys coming in. But it's really next weekend. And we have it listed on TexasFootball.com. We added Toa Katoa, the 2026 offensive guard from Euless, one of the best guards in the country. He has a committable offer from Texas. And Dalen McCutcheon, the 4-star wide receiver and FSU commitment.
Out of Lovejoy.
Yeah, out of Lovejoy. Will be in for the Mississippi State game. I was at Hitchcock game Thursday night. Kelshawn Johnson planning to come in for Georgia game. So we've talked about wide receiver. Where would that third spot go? We mentioned it's going to be somebody committed somewhere else in this class. I mean, it's pretty simple math now. You don't have to jump out there and say, Texas is going to have 4 or 5 flips. If they're going to have a 27-man class, that's obvious to anybody that covers or is a fan of Texas football and recruiting. So that's not breaking news, but we just want to reiterate: defensive line, defensive back, wide receiver. Those Texas is staying on the guys they liked and evaluating those kids early senior season. And so the majority of those kids are going to be flips, except unless there's a late offer of a kid that's not committed anywhere.
I will add this, it's not just the defensive players from Florida State that may be looking to peel right now. With Dalen McCutcheon committed to Florida State out of Lovejoy. It could be also the offensive players, because goodness gracious, they're not playing very good offense right now in Tallahassee. They have Cal today at home. We'll see if Cal
coach defense. Justin Wilcox coaching. Well, see, and
he's familiar with DJ Uiagalelei.
Yes. I'm almost the opposite. If I'm a receiver with FSU, I'd be like, okay, so they're gonna have another quarterback next year. I'm still in.
See, well, who is that quarterback?
Doesn't matter. He's better than the guy they're playing.
Well, it's not better than Arch Manning.
No, it's not.
And it may not be better than Trey Owens or KJ Lacey.
No, it's not.
Yeah. That's the problem with them right now. They may be in a little bit of a, I don't want to say a death spiral, but certainly a spiral of some sort.
I spoke with somebody in the Mobile area that's very close to Arch and KJ Lacey. People may kind of get it where I'm going with this, but there was a thought that KJ Lacey's a really undervalued quarterback nationally, and he is going to be a really good football player. And his natural feel and innate ability to play in the pocket and outside of the pocket and make the throws. This person who's known him since 3rd grade thinks the nationally people are missing the boat a little bit on him right now.
Yeah,
and he's out. He's out with a sprained MCL. I think he didn't play last night. May miss a couple of games. By the way, some high school stuff. Khalid Lockett Thursday night had 7 catches for 84 yards, a couple of touchdowns. We played his huddle yesterday on the Longhorn live stream, Friday afternoon live stream. Running backs had a tough night. Carthage beat Chapel Hill 45-14. I've not seen stats for Ricky Stewart, but they weren't big after having those 3 really good games to start the season. James Simon, Calvary Baptist, got upset against Franklin Parish last night. Dropped a couple of games in a row. Obviously, Jamie French is out for a couple of games with a finger injury. He should be back. So we'll continue to keep you updated on guys committed. Cedar Hill beat up on Dallas Skyline a little bit. That was a game of Jordan Devin, Isaiah Coleman versus Elijah Bo Barnes.
Gotcha. Hey, a couple other things. We're going to get to y'all's notes. We are here live at DKR around 8 hours from kickoff right now. I think the official kickoff time today is like 7:03 or 7:02. It's on ESPN Plus. For you guys watching at home, make sure you have ESPN Plus, the app, ready to go. Otherwise, it will not be on regular TV. This is one of the 12 games, the only one of the 12 games that will be relegated off regular network TV. Doesn't happen very often.
Boy, did ESPN get unlucky.
For the number one team in the country. But I don't think many people planned on the Longhorns being the number one team in the country 3 weeks in.
And Arch Manning starting this game.
Yeah. What would the audience have been had this been a major game? Hey, we're going to take your question.
The watch with us audience should be big.
Yeah, it should be big. I will say this as well, guys. We're going to take your questions here for another 15 minutes or so before we get ready for the tailgate. The tailgate starts around 2:30, 3 o'clock today over on the south lawn, or excuse me, south lawn of LBJ, or north lawn of LBJ, close to the Carpenter building. Matt, our producer, will leave the address of this, the GPS tag in this chat if you want to come visit with us as well. This is from Jonathan Rodriguez. I was rewatching the UTSA game earlier this morning and noticed Leonga Lafau wearing the green helmet communication sticker. Is it the entire LB room or different guys in each rotation? I think it's the middle linebacker. That's what that tells me, because Lafau is the backup for Anthony Hill.
Yeah.
One of those two guys will be on the field at all times, and or Ty Anthony Smith,
right,
who's the third string backup linebacker in that regard. You agree with that, Jerry?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the Mike backer.
Yep. All right. Thank you also to Jonathan McKay for his super chat. We appreciate it. I saw a note up here from George, a friend of mine that I met up in Tulsa earlier this year at the Tulsa Texas X's Association. Brandon Huey's in the chat as well. A lot of good guys and people to remind us. Rob's in here. Let's see this. What about this from William Henderson? It's really ridiculous. SEC should not let a single game be on an app we have to spend additional money on. I think it's just apps are the way of the world these days, guys. That's what I'm coming to the opinion of. And I'm an old school guy too. I wanted to see it on ESPN, Fox, CBS. I hated Fox, but that's a different story. It was always relegated to Fox, basically, in my opinion.
Right.
They've actually upped their production in the
have.
last 5 years or so. But previously it was really bad. But look, I hate to say it, but this is going to be what happens today. I don't know if we'll see it happen again for a couple of years if the Longhorns continually are ranked among the nation's best. It just doesn't work that way very much as well.
So I wanted to say last week, if this game goes according to plan, Texas played 77 players last week, Bobby.
Yeah.
If Texas gets control of this game by middle of the third quarter, like they did last week, I think we're going to see a number close to that. Do you see the debut of a Melvin Hills? I mean, somebody like that this week that they might get on the field for the first time, really. So it's going to be interesting to see how deep they go. I
love Earth, Wind, and Fire is what they're talking about. Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
the 21st night of that's the best you'll ever get me going on a song.
No, I'm all about the yacht rock. I used to live in South Florida. Yacht rock is my jam.
I love it.
Which has not been popular with any female in my life.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this and things we want to see for the Longhorns today. We want to, and one more thing I got to put in before we start talking about what we want to see. Jaden Blue was on an Instagram Live last night. We need to at least mention this.
Yeah.
He was on an Instagram Live last night where he said he was going to play today. I do not think that Jaden Blue makes that decision, but I think Jaden Blue would like to play today. As we mentioned last week, he was out. Had it been a key game, he would have played or been able to play. So that leads me to think that he might be playing today. And Trey Wisner trying to get some time on the mend after suffering what I think was a low ankle sprain on last Saturday against UTSA.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good thing for Arch in this game, by the way, is your first start, a better team defensively than last week, which also would lead you to believe Jaden Blue plays this week. And that's a really good safety valve for Arch in this game. I really believe that, because they're going to do a lot in the short passing game, especially probably early horizontally to help Arch, then attack maybe down the middle a little bit. But having Jaden Blue out there in the passing game, I think would be really big for Arch tonight in his first start. By the way, I don't think you're going to see Jaden Blue taking 15 handoffs tonight. By the way,
yeah, I don't think I don't see that happening at all. All right, what are we looking for today, Jerry, for the Longhorns?
So to me, first down run defense, because if UL Monroe is faced with second longs, tough task for them. Wrap tackling, solid game tackling for a team that's going to want to run the football on first down, second down, even third down if they can. So it's a game for run fits. It's about being disciplined in your run gaps. It's about being gap sound, and it's about gang tackling the football, gang tackling the running backs. Because I think Texas can they can get pretty aggressive defensively in this game and really disrupt the box if they choose to. And I think they will do that. But I'm not saying they're going to be overly aggressive. But to me, first down run defense, tackling.
First down run defense, tackling on defense. For offense, what is it? Is it establishing the run game? Is it establishing Arch Manning with some confidence? I think more than anything, I want to see Arch be consistently good.
Yeah.
So, and what I mean by that, he had a spurt in there in the second quarter where he kind of got discombobulated. The offense got off track. I want to see if he can operate the offense kind of like Quinn Ewers has in the first 3 games of this season, where there hasn't been a real lull for Texas.
Yeah.
So can QB2 do in some regards what QB1 did? That's kind of what I want to see from a leadership perspective on offense. I will say
that takes me to pass pro, by the way.
Okay, I'll talk about pass pro. I want to say this. There were a couple of gold medals that just walked past us. That was a Texas swimming and diving team that just walked by. A couple of those guys, by the way, you could only see the backs of their heads. They won gold medals over in Paris. A couple of. All right, let's talk about pass protection now.
So I think anytime you have a first-time starting quarterback, your pass protection is huge. You want to give him time. You don't want him to be playing under duress. You want him under duress as little as possible, even though I go back to Arch in high school. That's one of his strengths because he wasn't on a dominant high school team. He played under duress at Isidore Newman. He's used to seeing bogeys and MIGs in his peripheral. That's not going to do it. Like even on the play where maybe he didn't read that third down play where he got sacked, he still felt it and started to react to it. So he didn't take a clean shot in the back. So he knows how to play under duress. He's been doing it pretty much his whole high school career before getting to Texas. But pass protection is huge in this game because if he can get comfortable, Texas, it's like any other game. If you protect for the quarterback at Texas this year, Texas is going to win in the passing game. They have too much speed, too much versatility, too many guys for these defenses to defend. And so if they pass pro and they give Arch time, and he can, because Arch will get the progression 3. If you give him time, he'll settle in and he's going to make plays in the pass.
That's one of the things I thought Dylan Raiola did really well last night was get down to his back.
Yep.
After seeing his first 2, Nebraska ran a lot of 2-man routes and then he checked down. Yep. So they made it easy on him. I'm kind of wondering if Sark will do the same. Another thing to think about here, Jerry, and you talked about that. I was mentioning this on Thursday and Friday, I think, on Coffee and Football. The foundation of this offense right now is the offensive line. That should also help Arch Manning later tonight in DKR. You can see DKR right behind us, guys. We're going to get back to a couple of questions right now. I do want to say this, that cameo earlier from Angie Kelly, the University of Texas women's soccer coach that stopped by real quick to say hello to everybody. She is currently undefeated in this soccer team, 7-0-2. On the year.
We actually, Blake and I actually did an interview with Lexi Missimo. We're going to have that up on Texas Football at some point here next few days. It was a really good conversation with her. She's probably going to be a future Hall of Honor inductee at the University of Texas. Her dad's in the Soccer Hall of Fame at North Carolina.
Here we go. Here's one from Bar None. How crazy would it be if UT and OU sucks play in the college football playoff and one of us hosts the other? When was the last time we played each other not in the Cotton Bowl? Man.
Wow.
Maybe I can't tell you that answer. Maybe in the 40s during the war or something.
That
They did a
would be
home and
wild.
home.
That would be wild. That's a hell of a
That's a
comment.
great question. I do not know the immediate answer. Matt, if you would do us a favor and look that up. I will say this question is actually moot because there's no way in hell OU is playing in the college football playoff this year. It ain't happening.
Unless they win today. Then we can start thinking about them different. But
no chance.
Lance Hurd, the left tackle, is out for Tennessee today. So how many high level left tackles do you have is the question there. For I thought it was going to be a total blowout early, and maybe it's just getting closer to the game. I think I'm more 34-17 ish. And Nick Anderson, I think there's going to be a lot of energy in that stadium. There's going to be a lot of energy in the stadium. I think it may keep a minute early. The whole key there is you'll know if Oklahoma is going to keep this game close based on the offensive line in the first 2 or 3 series of the game against Tennessee's defensive front. If they're struggling early, it's going to be bad all game.
I got news for you. They're going to struggle. That's my take on that. We talked a little bit about the draft, folks, this week. Jerry, you and I did a draft story about how many draft picks on Friday. We came out with one. We kind of picked 13 guys we thought were earmarked for the NFL draft for the Longhorns this year, even if it's, it could be higher or lower. But on this, it talks, Kim asked specifically about offensive line. Jerry Bobby, plus minus 2.5 OL drafted in 2025. What do you think on this? And then I'll read that AI overview that Matt brought up here.
I think it's over. I think Kelvin Banks, Cam Williams, Jake Majors, for sure. I think Texas has at least 3.
All right. Here's another question. The answer to earlier, I would go also with over, by the way, because I think Hayden Connor's actually going to get drafted. I think Jake Majors will, and I think Kelvin Banks will. So I don't know that it matters what DJ Campbell and Cam Williams actually make a decision on. The question earlier about when's the last time the two teams played, or the question I came up with, when's the last time the two teams played a home and home? Not since 1930, according to that, at the very least. Not sure what Texas and OU did before that. If they had
that's crazy. That was almost the peak of A&M football too. 39.
You cannot resist.
It's now been 2,419 days, 24,419 days since A&M was ranked number 1. I don't know how many college football Saturdays that is, but I'm guessing it's like 3,600 Saturdays, period.
Hey, Ryan Nelson, the only thing as good as a Texas win is an Oklahoma loss. I'd add A&M to that. Yeah. But Texas win's still bigger for me. That's just the way it is. Let's go back to recruiting before we close out here this morning session here over with DKR, just in our background, coming to you right from Bevo Boulevard before Bevo Boulevard actually opens this morning. Jerry, a little recruiting question for you. Dalen McCutcheon or Kelshawn Johnson preferred? McCutcheon expected to come in this week. Young man out of Lovejoy, committed to Florida State currently. Kelshawn Johnson, you talked to on Thursday when you went to his high school game. He's visiting Texas for the Georgia game, and he is committed currently to Texas A&M. Do we have a sense of which of these two are preferred, or is Sark still taking phone calls from national recruits too? I mean,
in June it was Kelshawn Johnson.
Yeah,
I mean that was pretty obvious. Even through the season and spring, and then June, it was Kelshawn Johnson. But sometimes it's not that easy, though. Sometimes it's now that a kid's committed, what does NIL look like here versus the other one? I mean, there's a lot of things that factor in at this point that maybe were different before a kid committed. But early on, before either of these guys committed, it was definitely Kelshawn Johnson.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where this goes because, as we've mentioned earlier on this show, Sark's taking some incoming phone calls right now that he necessarily wasn't pursuing early in the process because, whether Texas offered or not, Texas wasn't really in the game, and they had found some other guys they liked just as much or maybe even more. But now there's a little bit of a second glance going on at a number of positions. We've chronicled really well the defensive front you have, Jerry. I'll be honest. You've done a great job on that. But it's happening at other positions too. Javion Hilson is back around now and going to make a visit to Texas. I think next week
Mississippi State
for the Mississippi State game, and that's a defensive end that Texas had lost to Florida State. So it's not just happening at one position although we paid the most attention to at this point, at least defensive line, expect it to happen at corner, safety potentially, as well as maybe, I mean, look, maybe an offensive lineman shakes loose from somewhere that they need to circle back on.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah, I mean, look, the obvious people ask all the time, but I also continue to say this. If Michael Fasusi in 4 weeks called and said, hey, I've had a change of heart, they're not turning down Michael Fasusi. Otherwise, I think they stand pat an offensive line because 2026 is really, really good in state, as it usually is. And Texas in a really good spot for John Turntine. I think they're in a good spot for 2 guards, Katoa and Nicholas Robertson. Robertson out of Klein in the Houston area. So the 26 line class is really, really good in Texas. So I think it would have to be a Fasusi level kid that picks up the phone and said, man, I've had a change of heart. What can we do here?
I got to say this. Matt, I just sent you a text message. One of my friends is here in town, and he stopped by the rec center, which is literally over in Gregory Gym, the student rec for what do you call it, intramural sports. He actually stopped by, and he just sent me a photo. And Jerry Hamilton, I'm gonna see if you know and can name a player or two in these photos, one of which is me on the Hall of Champions in the intramural department. So before we let people go, I've got to say this and see what happens there.
By the way, UT boy, I agree with this. I was going right back up to this. Florida at Mississippi State, take the under. I totally agree, UT boy.
All right, here we go.
That's going to be last team to turn it over.
I'm only doing this because my wife is in the chat. Look at this. Look, that's the Hall of Champions.
Yeah.
Go down a little bit.
Dang, that's the same shirt you have on today.
No, it's not.
Wow.
Men's A runner-up, the Vanilla Extracts. There we go. We lost to a team that beat us probably by 25.
Am I supposed to know somebody else in there?
There's Paul Erickson.
Oh, from
Dobie. Paul.
That's really good basketball.
Yeah, really
player.
good. Steve Carl's in there. Keith Tillinger, Sean Smith, Chris Premazich. A lot of good friends of mine.
Erickson was at Dobie when my dad coached there. You were at Dobie when my dad coached there. Erickson turned down a number of D1 offers to go to the University of Texas as a student.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We're just having fun this Saturday morning, guys. I appreciate y'all. We appreciate everything y'all done and continue this. We're going to try to make this place rocking tonight. Come out and visit us, please, at the tailgate. We start, me and Jerry are going to do a live stream along with CJ starting around 3 o'clock. And then the rest of the time we're hanging out. Again, Duck Camp will have a $200 gift certificate to one lucky winner. We'll also have flight beer from our friends at Yingling and Faust Distributing. The folks at Hargrove Roofing as well as South Point Dodge will also be out as well. Just come out and have a little fun, hang out with us. It's going to be warm, but we got some fans going and some TVs going so you can watch some games while getting ready for the Longhorns to beat up on ULM.
It's hot. It's sunny. Don't forget your gooders.
There you go.
Don't forget your gooders.
You guys have fun today. We'll see you a little bit later. Matt, our producer, thanks for hooking us up this morning and getting us going. For Jerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. Hook 'em horns.